Hi. In this segment, we're going to talk about assembling an F5 rib set in one of our body assembly fixtures and how to fit and attach the tail block, the head block, and the corner point blocks to the fitted rim pieces. Our body assembly fixtures are made of red oak, and we have rubber feet at the bottom that are of the correct height so that when the rim is in the fixture, it's centered equally top and bottom in that fixture. This fixture basically holds the ribs in the center. There's a center spreader that is tightened with two turnbuckles, and that holds the rim to the outside of the fixture. Our ribs are steam bent to shape, and while they change very slightly either during shipping or if they're sitting in your shop for a while, they usually should fit pretty well in the fixture. I'll show you how to do corrections if necessary. The S piece goes around the head block and up to the first point, and then there's a piece that goes between the 2 points, what I call the W piece. And then for the little teeny piece at the bottom of the lower point right here, we'll take that from the scrap from one of the cutoffs of these other 3 pieces. The block set consists of the head block and the upper point block. Sort of like putting together a jigsaw puzzle, but pretty easy. And this is the lower point block. And then there's the tail block that goes down against the tail for the end pin and tail piece to be screwed into. We begin by making a mark on the fixture where the rim piece will end at the head block. Since the rim was a little bit tight going into the fixture, I'm going to use a hot air gun with the rim in the fixture and heat it for about 10 or 15 seconds while it's in place. This will allow it to take on a new shape. And since I noticed that the rim was also slightly out of shape around this very first bend, I've put the center spreader in place and I'm going to apply heat on the inside. And after about 10 or 15 seconds, this feels about right, I'm going to tighten this C-clamp I have on the outside to pull the fixture out. Now with the rib bent properly, it fits right into the fixture, it just falls in the fixture. We're now going to transfer that little pencil line we made up onto the rim, take it to the bandsaw and cut it short right there. And then we'll take the head block and put it right in place where it has to go. It's now time to ready the other end of the rib where it matches up with the W piece. To achieve this, I'm going to take this piece over to our belt sander and very carefully curve the outside shape of this rib. It's now time to fit the rib piece that goes around the head block, and I want to double check to make sure I've got the best bend to fit the fixture. Now, I think the other way was better, so we'll use it this way, and then we're going to transfer the center line of the fixture up onto this rib piece so that we know where to cut it. For the other place where the corner point is, I've drawn some lines on the fixture so I know just where this piece should end, and let's transfer that line up onto the rib piece as well. Okay, over to the bandsaw, we're now going to cut through the line where the center of the neck joint is, but when we come out of the point, I usually cut this part backwards. I cut from the inside to the outside to get a cleaner cut. Watch your thumbs when you do something like this. Stay away from that blade. Now it's time to fit the head block to these 2 rim pieces, and while we cut them very carefully, there's always minor changes that have to be made. I can see here that I've got a little area right in here from that first scroll down, and I'm going to mark them on the paper so I can see where to sand these on the belt sander. And just very carefully make small changes at a time, keep fitting it against the rim and the body assembly fixture. Okay, I've got some newspaper underneath my fixture, and it's time to begin gluing this rib in place with the parts adjusted and corrected. I'm going to use a clamp to pull the center spreader over to the side of the fixture. I don't want to spread both parts right now. This will lock it in place, make sure it's flush down to the table, and then peel the paper away, and I've fitted the head block, so we're going to apply some tight bond, regular glue, don't use tight bond, 2 or 3, and we use a Q-tip to spread it around and get a good bead of glue here covering this whole area. I usually put on my nitrile gloves, so I forgot to do it for this scene. I'll catch it here shortly. Get the glue in full coverage, and then get the head block in place. first thing we want to do is put a small wedge into the groove in the opening in the head block so that we don't possibly break that head block when we're clamping it. A wedge on the side keeps it from sliding over, and we're going to position this clamp first to pull the head block up. I may have to move the clamp once where I see when how it's positioning and favoring itself here in this slot. Make sure the wedges are in tight. Actually, I need more clamp here on the right to get a little better squeeze out. So we're going to move the clamp just over about 1/2 inch and draw it in. Make them pretty snug. As long as that wedge is in there, that head block will hold up and not crack. And I have good squeeze out here, and I have good squeeze out along the side of the head block. The next job is to attach the tail block and make sure that the center line of the tail block is on the center line of the fixture. I've already fitted it, so we're just going to get some glue on here. The sequence I'm showing you, by the way, for putting together this rim assembly is what the sequence I'd suggest you follow in this very particular order. Get a good bead of tight bond onto this block, making sure you've covered all areas. And then I put it in place, and I'm going to use the C-clamp to draw it to the back of the fixture. And you'll notice as I do this, I'm holding my thumb under the clamp there. I'm holding my thumb down on that rim to push the rim down onto the work surface. Important to keep it flush. I've got a good bead of squeeze out here, so I have a nice fit. Now comes the job of fitting the rib piece between the 2 points, and I'm going to transfer the marks from the fixture up onto the rib and then take it to the bandsaw and cut that corner off, and as you can see, it fits pretty nicely right up to that point. And we want to find where the other end is cut. I see I have to flex this rim a bit, so I'm going to take it and apply some heat to the back of it, and now as you can see I have a nice shape where it just kind of falls right in place. Transfer the line from the fixture up onto the bottom and go back to the bandsaw and cut that piece off too. With the rib piece fitted, it slides right into the fixture. I have a nice mortise joint up at the first point there, and I'm getting ready now to mark where to glue this to the large rim piece. So I'm going to put a mark on this part here and then squeeze the rim over and get a mark there where they're going to join each other. So you do want to check how they join so you know that actual distance there of where to apply the glue and you don't apply too much. And now we're ready to apply some glue to both ends of this rib piece, where it goes up to the upper point and where it meets the other rib piece. I'm going between my pencil lines there. Again, using a Q-tip to smear the glue around and get a nice bead on that end. And just tuck it in place here, get it down flush. And now we're going to glue the upper point piece in place. So again, apply some tight bond to its surface. And then smear that glue around well so that we have a nice clean bead there. Notice about how much glue I'm applying here. I'd rather have squeeze out than no squeeze out. I can always sand that away, but you do need glue in this joint. And this part fits into this point. I'm going to force it down. Sorry, my hand's in the way here, but I'm going to force it down into the joint there between the spreader and the rib, flush down to the board. And I'll start tightening up the spreader a bit. We're going to do most of the pull effort though with the C-clamps you'll see in a minute. Just going to use the spreaders to hold things in place. Here I want to tap the rim down to the work surface so that I'm sure the rim is flush to the bottom all the way around. And then we're applying this clamp, and I'm snugging up the center spreader as I go. I'm applying pressure here, pulling over the center spreader over, and then tightening up the turnbuckle. Next job is going to be to fit the lower point. And I'm using some of the scrap from the other parts to do this, getting a nice curved shape at the bottom there because I want it to fit to the fixture. I'm going to mark where it meets the rim and where that mortise will be at the very end. Now when marking the point near the rim, this cut is going to be not at right angles to the piece. It sort of transverses along here at an angle, so make sure you cut in that direction when you do make this cut. A little bit of sanding and fitting, and you're going to have that bottom piece fitting in here just like this. So the lower rib piece is glued in place, and I'm going to fit this block piece after the glue is dried. Now the clamps have been removed, and it's time to fit this piece and get a nice push fit down into that space. Well, I finally remembered my nitrile gloves. I'm going to glue all three surfaces now of this lower point block and apply some glue to the inside of this opening, which I'll move around here with a Q-tip in a moment. And again, smear the tight bond around on all three surfaces of this point. And then see why I need the gloves, because this is the sloppy part. And then go into that opening and have enough glue in there so that you can move the glue around with a Q-tip and get a nice sliding fit when you put this lower block in place like this, and we'll push it down and it fits just right. Some luthers prefer to fit the block in first and then later fit the outer piece. Whatever is easy for you is fine. Once the glue is dried, the next job is to attach the kerf lining to the ribs and then sand the whole top surface of the ribs, blocks, and the kerf lining flush, and then of course you're ready to attach the soundboard.